I still remember the first time I met her. My Aunt Emily had always been a part of our family gatherings, her warm smile and open arms giving me comfort. She was always the one to offer advice, the one who stood by me through tough times, and yet I never suspected what was quietly brewing beneath the surface. It was one of those ordinary Tuesday evenings. I had returned home after a hectic day at work, expecting the usual evening routine dinner, some small talk with my husband, maybe a show to wind down before bed. But everything felt different that night, as though the air was thick with something I couldn't place. I walked into the kitchen, and there he was, my husband David, leaning against the counter. I kissed him on the cheek, and I noticed his eyes seemed to dart nervously away from mine. I didn't think much of it. He was always on edge after work, stressed about the responsibilities he carried. But then he dropped the bombshell. "We need to talk," he said, his voice trembling. Before I could ask what was wrong, the words spilled out. I've been seeing someone. It's Emily. Your aunt." I thought I heard him wrong. I blinked and stepped back. "What? My aunt?" "Yes," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "We've been seeing each other for the last 6 months. I felt the blood drain from my face. I could hear my heartbeat, loud and uncontrollable. The room started to spin, and I couldn't process what he was saying. My husband, the man I had trusted with my life, had been having an affair with my aunt, the woman who was supposed to be a second mother to me. My family, my trust, my life, everything shattered. The emotional fallout. The first few days after David confessed felt like a nightmare. I couldn't breathe without feeling the weight of betrayal press down on me. I tried to make sense of it all, but nothing about it made sense. David was the love of my life. Emily was the woman who had guided me through my teenage years, the one I called when I needed advice. How could they do this to me? But it wasn't just the physical betrayal that hurt. It was the emotional betrayal, the feeling that they had shared something that should have been sacred to me. Their love, their connection, seemed so deep, so real, that it was like I didn't even exist in the picture anymore. The worst part? Emily never once reached out to apologize. She never once showed regret for what she'd done. Instead, it was David who begged for forgiveness, tried to explain that he had been emotionally disconnected, that Emily had been a form of escape for him. The excuses felt hollow, like a band-aid on a wound that needed stitches. Tangled emotions and family secrets. A week passed before I spoke to Emily. I hadn't seen her face to face yet. She had avoided me like the plague. But eventually, I couldn't stand the silence anymore. I went to her house, my mind swirling with every possible emotion. Anger, confusion, hurt. I was consumed by all of it. When she opened the door, she looked shocked, and for a moment, I almost felt pity for her. But then, I saw the emptiness in her eyes, the same emptiness that had been in David's when he confessed. She invited me inside, but I refused. I needed answers, and I wasn't about to sit down and pretend everything was okay. "You've destroyed everything, Emily," I said, barely holding it together. "You've torn apart my family. How could you do this to me? To us?" She lowered her gaze, unable to look at me. "I never meant for it to happen like this. I never wanted to hurt you. But David, he needed someone. I didn't know how to help him, and it just happened. But you knew what you were doing. You knew what he meant to me." I shouted. "You were my family. You were supposed to protect me, not tear my life apart." Tears started to well up in her eyes. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But I've been in love with him. I didn't know how to stop." And there it was, the truth, in all its ugly, painful reality. My own aunt had fallen in love with my husband, and she had been too weak to stop herself. The aftermath. In the months that followed, everything changed. Our family gatherings were no longer the same. The air between us was thick with unspoken words and awkward glances. I couldn't look at David without feeling a flood of anger and sorrow. I tried to understand him, to find a way to forgive him, but every time I saw him with that guilt-ridden look on his face, I wanted to scream. As for Emily, I distanced myself from her completely. It was too painful to even speak to her. The emotional toll of trying to come to terms with what they had done, with the love I had lost, was unbearable. And yet, the hardest part wasn't just their betrayal. It was the deep sense of loneliness that followed. The people I loved the most had abandoned me, and I couldn't decide if it was even worth trying to rebuild the trust I'd once had. Emotional betrayal has a way of cutting deeper than physical infidelity because it breaches the very core of trust and intimacy in a relationship. While physical cheating is often seen as the ultimate violation of monogamy, it's the emotional connection that truly threatens the foundation of a marriage. When a partner turns to someone else not just for lust, but for comfort, understanding, and emotional fulfillment, it creates a sense of abandonment that can feel impossible to recover from. It's one thing to imagine your partner in someone else's arms, but it's another level of heartbreak to imagine them sharing vulnerable thoughts, secrets, laughter, or late-night conversations with someone else, especially someone as close as a family member. Emotional intimacy is sacred in relationships. It's where love is built, maintained, and nurtured. When that space is shared with another person outside the relationship, especially without the other's knowledge, it becomes a betrayal not just of the relationship, but of the bond you believed was unshakable. In stories like the one involving a husband and his wife's aunt, the emotional betrayal hits on multiple levels. It's not only that the husband found emotional solace in another person, it's that he found it in someone from within the family. Someone the wife trusted implicitly. That changes everything. The wife is left grappling with a double-edged betrayal, her partner, who was supposed to be her emotional safe space, and her aunt, who had played a guiding, supportive role throughout her life. It's not just the love and trust between husband and wife that crumbles. It's the entire framework of what family is supposed to mean. The emotional attachment shared between the husband and the aunt wasn't a random affair with a stranger. It had depth, history, familiarity, and twisted emotional ties that left the wife in a state of helpless confusion. She's not only mourning the loss of her marriage, but also the loss of her family structure, her sense of home, her belief in loyalty. One of the cruelest aspects of emotional betrayal is that it often starts with small moments that seem innocent at first. A conversation shared during a tough time, a secret confided during a vulnerable night. Gradually, a line gets crossed, but it's done so subtly that, to the outsider, it appears almost untraceable until the damage is done. That's why emotional affairs are often more dangerous. They're insidious, quiet, hidden in plain sight. A spouse can be emotionally checked out long before they ever physically cheat. And that absence, those cold silences, those distant looks, that sense of being unheard or unloved can destroy the person left behind. The betrayed partner starts to question their worth, their presence, their role in the relationship. They may even begin to internalize the betrayal as a personal failure when, in reality, they've been shut out emotionally, piece by piece, over time. Moreover, emotional betrayal often leads to stronger, longer-lasting damage because it's harder to quantify. There's no lipstick on a collar, no hotel receipts or late-night texts to uncover at first. Instead, it reveals itself in subtle shifts, sudden secrecy, mood changes, defensiveness, or inappropriate closeness between two people who should never have breached those boundaries. And when the truth comes out, the pain isn't just about what was done, it's about everything that was shared with someone else. Every memory, every inside joke, every emotional moment that could have been shared between partners, but instead belonged to someone else. That realization haunts people long after the betrayal itself. It makes healing slower, forgiveness harder, and trust nearly impossible to rebuild. Emotional betrayal leaves a scar that lingers not because of what happened in the bedroom, but because of what happened in the heart. When infidelity occurs between a spouse and a family member, the damage goes far beyond the romantic relationship. It fractures the entire foundation of the family unit, poisoning connections that were once sources of security and comfort. Trust within a family is often considered sacred. It's not just about loyalty, it's about knowing that no matter what happens, certain lines are never crossed. Families are supposed to offer unconditional support, a safe space, and unwavering love. But when someone from that inner circle betrays not just a person's heart, but their faith in family itself, the fallout is emotionally devastating. It forces the betrayed individual to confront not just the loss of their relationship, but also the collapse of their identity within the family structure. A person begins to question their entire past, wondering if the signs were always there, if their memories were ever real, or if it was all a lie covered by family smiles and hollow reassurances. The betrayal hits especially hard when the person involved is someone who held a guiding or nurturing role, like an aunt. Aunts, in many families, are second mothers. They're the ones who step in during tough times, who celebrate your milestones, who give advice when your own parents feel too far away. They are trusted confidants, childhood cheerleaders, and often deeply woven into the emotional fabric of your life. To find out that someone with that level of emotional access and history has violated those boundaries isn't just shocking, it's traumatizing. It feels like your past has turned on you. You don't just lose a husband, you lose a maternal figure, a friendship, a piece of your childhood, and your faith in familial love all at once. That betrayal doesn't just cut deep, it echoes. Every future family gathering, every mention of their name, every photo from the past becomes a painful reminder of what was lost. The betrayal from within the family also isolates the victim in a uniquely painful way. When a partner cheats with someone outside the family, it's usually possible to lean on loved ones for support, but when the betrayal is from within, suddenly, the lines become blurred. Family members may take sides or worse, try to downplay what happened to avoid family tension. The victim is often met with silence, avoidance, or subtle pressure to move on for the sake of the family. In many cases, people avoid choosing sides, which leaves the betrayed person feeling even more alone. They're often left to carry the emotional burden alone while trying to pretend that nothing happened during holiday dinners or family reunions. It's an emotional minefield where every conversation, every interaction, feels laced with resentment and unspoken pain. What makes this betrayal even more destructive is how it redefines relationships across the entire family tree. Children, siblings, cousins, everyone becomes part of the ripple effect. Some may feel forced to choose between family members, while others simply pull away altogether to avoid the conflict. The family begins to splinter in silent, unseen ways. Bonds that once felt natural and effortless now feel strained and tense. It's not uncommon for victims of intra-family infidelity to eventually cut ties with large portions of their family, not out of bitterness, but out of sheer emotional exhaustion. The betrayal contaminates spaces that once felt like home, making healing a long, lonely, and often silent process. At its core, betrayal within a family unit doesn't just shatter trust in people, it shatters trust in the concept of family. It forces a reevaluation of everything a person believed about loyalty, love, and the supposed safety of blood ties. And perhaps the hardest part is accepting that sometimes the people you thought would protect you are the very ones who break you and still expect to sit across from you at the same table like nothing ever happened.